the religious faith that the Egyptians had kept with. They believed in life after death. I think most of the people believe in life after the death. After this, we will have a very good life. We will be like angels. Abhilash, we will be like angels and we will fly in the air. So people believe in the life after death. Aman, isn't it? We will live like angels with wings and golden color, and we will walk around, fly around. Egyptians believed in life after death. In here also, in Kerala also, there was such kind of things were there. In very ancient time, even in Kerala also, in certain areas, the dead body was kept in very large jars with valuable things inside. And the jar was kept under the as a tomb. So in the jar, people kept their daily things, such kind of things. But the Egyptians made it as a pyramid. Not all the places I see. It is the such kind of jars are known as Nanyarnis or something like that. When we read about the Musri's civilization, we can see in this area, Chandamangalam, Puttamelikara, Parurino, this area, Puttamelikara, Elandikara, Chandamangalam area, we could see old Nanyarnis or something. Nanyarni means this kind of, this much height jar, earthen jar, in that dead body was kept there, or things were kept there. So in Egypt, people kept dead body embalmed. Now also here we have embalming. When we take the dead body from far away, maybe taking after that, they embalm the body and bring it. So it keeps the dead body away from decay. So in Egypt, all the dead bodies would be embalmed, and it would be kept in the coffin, and the coffin will be kept in the pyramid, tomb. The tomb will be built as pyramids, and we took that pyramid into our mathematics books, and we study pyramidal shape, angles, isn't it? We took that pyramid from the land there and we kept it on the notebook. You have a pyramid shape, and we study acute angle. We study obtuse angle. Like that something is there. Am I right? In mathematics? Obtuse angle, acute angle, something. I have studied mathematics in class 10, around 50 years ago. Still, I remember obtuse angle, acute angle, right angle, triangle, isn't it? Oh, Shibu, good morning. Where were you, man? Arey, bhai, come to the class all the time. Okay. Okay, bye. What I'm saying is that these are the application level. So sometimes in the question paper it will be asked, can you match this pyramid into our daily life? Maybe there it is written obtuse angle. And Sanjana may think that what is pyramid and obtuse angle? This question, sir, this question is out of syllabus. It is mathematics question, out of syllabus. Sanjana. So this is the thing. This is MCQ application level. Okay. So let us come. So they believed in resurrection. Resurrection means life after death. So they believed that this man will live after this life. So he needed toothbrush, he needed all his dress, he needed glass, he needed cup, all these things. So people made these things and buried together with the dead body. Clear now? So since he is a king, he was a king, everything was made out of gold. So to guarantee resurrection, that paragraph is over. So they have kept board games, chessboard, because kings play chess. Board games, underline, a bronze razor, not a plastic razor. Now people use a half-blade razor, plastic, use and throw. But kings use golden razor or silver razor, bronze razor for shaving. Linen undergarments, cases of food and wine to drink and eat. After months of carefully recording the Pharaoh's funerary treasures, these above said things are called funerary treasures. The valuable things that were kept at the time of funeral, at the time of burial. Carter began investigating his 3 nested coffins. So, all around his coffin, these funerary items were there. Funerary treasures were there. These cup and saucer and brush and all these things, razor and everything was there, kept there. So, Hardward Carter, who opened the cemetery tomb in 1922, study by heart. Hardward Carter, a British archaeologist who found the tomb of Tut in 1922, and he opened it. So when he opened, he saw these funerary treasures. He took the note of it. He made a list. Golden cup, 2. Golden saucers, 2. Bronze razor, 4. Undergarments, 5 sets each. Gown, 5 sets each. Like that, he wrote a list of treasures. Then he began investigating his 3 nested coffins. 3 layered coffins. The coffin has 3 layers. Usually 1 layer is there. In that dead body is kept and it is closed. But his coffin has 3 nested, means 3 layered coffins. He opened the first layer. He found a shroud adorned with garlands of willow and olive leaves. So on the first layer, he saw a garment. Shroud means a garment, a cloth, decorated with garlands of willow and olive leaves, 2 plants, wild celery, lotus petals, and cornflowers. The faded evidence of a burial in March or April. Underline March or April. Spring season. So, these flora and fauna, these leaves and flowers indicate that the funeral was conducted in the month of March or April. This is the work of archaeologists, seeing the things. If we go there, we would say, hi, hi, ho, 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 very good, very good. Let us go, let us go, let us go. Push, 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 move, 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 move. We will see only the things. But archaeologist's brain go there. Here in the coffin, there is all these flowers, these plants, leaves are there. That means during the time of funeral, the people had used these flowers. They are fresh at that time. That means the funeral had been happened in the month of March or April. When he finally had reached the mummy, after that he reached the mummy, the dead body, though he ran into a trouble. So slowly he opened the next one, then he reached the mummy. There he faced the trouble. What was the trouble? The ritual resins. The ritual resins, underline the word. The ritual resins had hardened. When they embalmed the body, they used certain chemical compounds. Now, they have used certain chemical compounds when they embalm the body. And this chemical compound will be on all parts of the body. With that chemical compound, they place the dead body on the coffin. This is how many years ago? How many years ago? 3,300 years ago. Just imagine. We cannot imagine 200 years. But it had happened 3,300 years ago. Because of this long period, what happened? This chemical compound has become cemented like rock. Then what will happen? The mummy we will not be able to take the mummy from the coffin. Mummy and the coffin were pasted each other like Ada and Chakara, isn't it? We cannot separate it. So the dead body, the mummy, was pasted on the when I said Ada Chakara, Anish is waiting for the Ada. It will come there, man. It will come. So it is pasted there. That is the problem he faced, you see. The ritual resins, the chemical compound used for the funeral function ceremonies. Ritual means religious ceremony. Ritual means religious ceremonies. Ritual resins, the compound that is used for these ritual ceremonies, had hardened, became cemented. The word is coming there on. Cementing, the word is coming. Cementing touch to the bottom of his solid gold coffin. Pasted his body like one gum is there. What is that gum? 2 elephants. White gum. What is its name?
Fevicol.
Fevicol. 2 elephants are there, isn't it? It will not be broken, separated. Like that, this ritual resin was cemented. And the dead body, or I would say the mummy, not our mummy, the other mummy, Egyptian mummy, or the embalmed dead body of the king was pasted or cemented to the gold coffin. No amount of legitimate force, underline. No amount of legitimate force could move them. Carter wrote later what was to be done. What is the meaning? No legitimate force could remove them. That means there are certain methods permitted by the law. The law permits the doctor or the archaeologist to use this method. They cannot use any method. In order to investigate the dead body, they have a limited rules and regulations. So with the given laws, it was impossible. Sometimes the law says the archaeologists cannot use axe. They have to use only chisel and a hammer, like that. Rules will be there. Rules will be there. So according to the legitimate force, legally permitted methods, that's the meaning, legitimate force. Legally permitted methods. With that, it was impossible to move, separate the dead body from the coffin. Then what was to be done? The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt. So Carter thought, what shall we do? Do one thing. We will take this coffin and keep it on the sun. The sun is too hot. So sun can melt the resins. You see? We cannot do anything. So if we keep it, suppose if you take milk from the freezer, it is like a rock. You can put it in the water, isn't it? After half an hour, it will be melted. It will become milk. Or you can keep it outside. In this way, he thought, in order to separate Abhirame, in order to separate the dead body from the coffin, Carter thought to keep the coffin under the sun. So because of the heat of the sun, the resin will be melted and the dead body will be separated. And Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. For several hours, he set the mummy outside. He set the mummy outside in blazing sunshine that heated it to 149 degrees Fahrenheit. Such a blazing sun. He kept hours. Nothing budged. Nothing came out. Nothing melted. No effect. It was futile. It was in vain. Many words I have told. Anybody has written any word? Nobody has written any word. You see. Okay. It was of no use. Next word. It was of no use. It was in vain. It was futile. No result has come. Nothing budged. He reported with scientific detachment that the consolidated material had to be chiseled away from beneath the limbs and trunk before it was possible to raise the king's remains. At last, he decided to chisel with a hammer to separate the dead body from the coffin, to chisel it out. Clear? To chisel and hammer. That was the method he used. So there was no other choice. He had to take the dead body from there. So he had to chisel the cemented resins. In his defense, Carter really had little choice. Little choice. In the morning I told you, isn't it? What do you mean by little choice? No choice. There was no choice. You see usage. Morning we have seen. Little choice means there is no option. A little choice, some option was there. Here you see, in his defense, it was his suggestion that in order to separate the mummy from the coffin, I don't have any choice, but I have to chisel it out. This is his defense. So he requested the government, permit me to chisel it out. Clear now? In order to support his requests in his defense, that is the meaning. In order to support his opinion, Carter really had little choice. There was no other choice. He told, there is no choice to separate. This is the only choice. If he hadn't cut the mummy free, what will happen? Tomb is open. Tomb is open. And crores and crores valuable things are there in the tomb. And the dead body, the coffin is made of gold. All the utensils and everything were made of gold. Valuable things are there in the pyramids. So, if the mummy is not chiseled out, what will happen? Thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards and ripped it apart to remove the gold. Thieves are there. They may come and give some tips to the watchman. Watchman, do one thing. I will give you 1 lakh rupees. You go to the toilet now. Washroom there now. By that time, we will do our work. So you will not be in trouble. You are absent. In your absence, it is happened, isn't it? Circumvent. They would influence. Circumvent means influence. So the thieves may come and influence the guard, watchman, and rip out, take out, ripped, take out, rip out, ripped, tear it out, take it out, separate and take it apart to remove the gold. They will take the gold. That is why at any cost the dead body is to be separated, Carter said. So there is no choice. In Tut's time, during the time of Tut, the royals were fabulously wealthy. At that time, gold has no value. They were very wealthy. Pharaohs were very wealthy. Egyptians were very wealthy. So there were enough gold, fabulous, enormously, greatly, sufficiently wealthy, fabulously wealthy. And they thought or hoped, expected they could take their riches with them. So why they were keeping all these gold and everything? These kings believed in life after death. These kings, you have to understand these kind of things. They believed in life after death. So these kings accumulated, these kings amassed, these kings collected this much wealth, thinking that when I die, these people will bury these things with me in my tomb. So when I come back, you see, when I come back, when I resurrect, do you follow? Do you follow me? When he resurrects, when he comes back from death, when he rises from the dead, when he gets a life after his death, everything is same. He would be able to use these things. That is a selfish thought of the pharaohs. Clear now? That is why the Egyptian pharaohs were, during that time, fabulously wealthy. Because of the thought of the life after death, our parents are also doing like that, isn't it? If something happens to me, my children should have something, isn't it? So at the earliest, they want to amass more and more so that my child may live without any job, isn't it? Even though there is no job, he can live. That should not be your thought. Even though I have the riches, I will live on my job. That should be your idea. Even though I have a lot of wealth at home, I will live on my hands. I will earn for my livelihood. That should be your idea. So, fabulously wealthy, and they thought or hoped they could take their riches with them in the pyramids, in the tomb. For his journey to the great beyond, who is the great beyond? Who is great beyond? Can anyone say? Who is the great beyond? Anyone? Who is known as the great beyond? His journey to the great beyond. God. His journey to God. Great, the great beyond everything. Above everybody. So, for his journey to the great beyond, King Tut was lavished with glittering goods, valuable goods, a precious collars, inlaid necklaces, bracelets, rings, amulets, a ceremonial apron, sandals, sheaths for his fingers and toes, and the now iconic inner coffin and mask, all of pure gold. All these items he made of gold. To separate Tut from his adornments, everything is now pasted, all his chain, golden chain, amulets and everything is pasted to the body. It cannot come out. It is cemented because of the ritual resins, because of the embalming compound. It is pasted there. Body and this gold is pasted together. To separate Tut from his adornments, Carter's men removed the mummy's head that severed nearly every major joint. So what did they do? Carter's men, assistants, cut the neck, cut all the major joints so that the gold will be taken out. In order to take because otherwise the thieves will circumvent the guards and they would take away. So in order to remove these valuable things, guardsmen cut the major joints of cut and removed the things. Once they had finished, they reassembled the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with a padding that concealed the damage. The bed where cut now rests. After that, what did they do? Hereafter it shall not happen anymore. So after cutting and putting and taking the gold, what did they do? They reassembled the cut part, joined with some stuffy material. Stuffy material, and joined all the parts properly. The damaged part, everything is properly finished. And it was kept on sand so that it will not be cemented again. So they made a wooden coffin first. They made a wooden box. In that they put sand. In that sand they kept the dead body. Then they kept it. Clear now? So now the dead body, the mummy is kept on sand. You see, they reassembled, underline. They reassembled the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with the padding. Padding means filling with a soft material. We can get a teddy bear and all this from the shop, isn't it? So, soft materials that concealed, that covered the damaged portion. The bed where Tut now rests. Now Tut's dead body is on such a material. Archaeology, this isn't, when it has happened? It had happened in 1922. When Howard Carter opened the tomb for the first time, 1922. This work was done by Howard Carter. After that, it is placed back there and covered. Archaeology had changed substantially in the intervening decades, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. You see, archaeology had changed substantially in the intervening decades. During the forthcoming decades, during the years that came after, you see, during the years that came after, what happened? What happened? The archaeologists of the modern century, what did they do? They did not give much importance to the valuable things. They did not give much importance to gold. They did not give much importance to the treasures. Instead, what happened? They wanted to know more about the secrets of his life. They wanted to know the secrets of life. You see, substantially in the intervening decades, focusing less on the treasure and more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. It also uses more sophisticated tools. You see, it also uses more sophisticated, more complicated methods. Tools here means methods. They used including medical technology, In 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery, an anatomy professor X-rayed the mummy and revealed a startling fact. Startling fact means wonderful fact, astonishing fact. Beneath the resin that cakes his chest, his breastbone and the front ribs are missing. Underline those lines. An anatomy professor X-rayed the mummy and revealed a startling fact. Beneath the resin that cakes his chest, his breastbone, backbone and the front ribs are missing. So later, when it was re-examined, investigated, it was found that some bones were missing. Okay, the rest we will see in the next class. Okay.